Hi, everybody. Today we are talking about sibling disagreements and sibling agreements in families when caring for aging parents. Stay with me. I'm going to share 4 personality styles. I'm going to talk about what is in a sibling agreement and why everybody should have one to avoid damaging family care relationships. I'm Pamela D Wilson. My website is PamelaDWilson.com. On there, you can find my online courses, my book, my blog, a way to share your stories with me, and a way to contact me for personal consultations. And here on my YouTube channel, over 800 videos. Please like, share, comment, because the more that you engage with this channel, the more that it helps other people find similar hope, help, and support. And I know a lot of you may not be subscribed. I ask you to subscribe today so that you can receive notices of future videos that come out, and you have the ability to pose questions to me, and I will do videos for you. So let's talk about sibling relationships and families. If you have a family where all of your brothers and sisters, or if you're a parent where all of your children magically get along, you are truly blessed. Because families who get along perfectly and agree about care for aging parents are probably a little more rare than you think. So years ago, when I was a care manager and a power of attorney and a guardian, I would meet with families, adult children, elderly parents, and they would come to my office. And so many of them would be embarrassed to say, "Oh my gosh, Pamela, our family doesn't get along." And I would say, you know what? That's okay. Most families don't get along. But the fact that you're here wanting help on how to bring everybody together is really what's important. I would have so many adult children say, "Oh my gosh, Pamela, I could handle it before, but now it's really, really bad," which is why I had to come see you. So the goal of this video is to offer insights about sibling relationships, sibling agreements, before things get really bad, before they go past the point of no return. And so I'm going to begin by contrasting and comparing family and workplace relationships, because honestly, the people at your workplace can feel like they're your family. You probably spend more time with them than you do with your family when you think about it, right? Then we're going to look at personality styles and how to talk about these within your family, and how these can really be beneficial to create sibling agreements for the care of elderly parents to avoid squabbles and disagreements and conflict and bad feelings that honestly happens more often than it should. So, as most of us know, when a relationship goes sideways, right, it goes off track, the effort required to mend that relationship, it can be a lot of work, especially if somebody on one side or the other has really hurt feelings and they dwell in their emotions versus the facts. So these are tips to help you before you have to draw that line in the sand, before you burn a bridge or you got to go down the other fork in the road, right? So one of the problems in families, and this starts when we're young children, right, is usually that there's no clear leader. Now, a clear leader could be a grandparent, grandma, grandpa, it could be mom or dad, but somebody's got to be leading the family, and somebody should be setting behavioral examples and guidelines for what's acceptable and what's not acceptable as far as behaviors. How do we deal with conflict in our family? What do we do when we disagree with each other? What do we do when we're mad at each other? These are skills that all of us need, whether we're in a family, in a relationship, or at work. And so family relationships, right, can seem like a really big contrast from workplace relationships that can be over here, because in the workplace, there are expectations, right? Everybody works together. Everybody gets along. There should be mutual respect. Now, I know it doesn't always happen because I've been there myself. The challenge is that our personality style, whatever that is, and the people in our family and the people that we work with could be night and day different. And so your personality and your style transcends all relationships, right? Usually we're consistent. If we're one way at work, we're the same way at home, or we should be. Now, and while any of us can be on our really best behavior, right, for a while, eventually something's going to happen and it's going to tip those scales and push us off the other end, and our true personality is going to come out. So the key to successful relationships really is to be the best that you can and realize that you and other people have different personalities and different styles, and be as accepting and gracious and kind and accommodating as possible so that all your relationships run smoothly. Now, we know not all family relationships and not all workplace relationships are perfect. A lot of this depends, so specifically in the workplace, right? The approach and the beliefs and the styles of upper management that should flow down to other leaders and managers in the company, and then the employees and the people that they manage. How many of you have worked in toxic work situations, or you have a toxic family situation? It happens. One single person with disruptive or negative habits can destroy everything. It can destroy morale. It can destroy hope, especially if other people in the family or other people in the workplace feel intimidated by this person, or they lack conflict resolution skills or social skills or communication skills, which we're going to talk about a little bit here. So it doesn't matter what the relationship, family, workplace, friendships, it all boils down to our ability to grow our skills that relate to a concept called emotional intelligence. And so what is that? Well, it's the ability to be aware of and control your emotions, right? Happy, sad, angry, whatever. It's the ability to be empathetic and balanced and fair and logical, and also to understand that other people have emotions that honestly they may not have learned how to control yet or learned how to manage. And so you're going to be on the receiving end of all of that stuff, right? So in a sense, being emotionally intelligent is noticing those teeny tiny things that make a big difference in a relationship. Simple things, crazy things, right? Putting the toilet seat up or down. It's a simple thing, right? Putting dishes in the dishwasher instead of leaving them in the sink. We all have our pet peeves. So why do we want to go out of our way to irritate other people if we know that they like or don't like something? The point is we don't if we want to have a good relationship. People who are emotionally intelligent do not hold grudges. They apologize. They forgive other people. They embrace being kind because of an understanding that nobody's perfect. No situation is perfect. Life is not perfect. If it was, it probably would be pretty darn boring, right? Emotionally intelligent people focus on solving problems instead of blaming others for their problems or their issues. They don't spend a lot of time in their emotions because they recognize where their emotions can take them. They balance that with facts and plans and solutions. So with all of this, why honestly does getting along seem so difficult in family relationships and sometimes in workplace relationships? Well, the answer is we all carry baggage and trauma. Let's look at trauma first. Not all children are brought up in loving households with parents who are leaders and who exhibit behavior styles that are positive, right? Childhood abuse happens and it can result in lifelong trauma that actually has a formal name for it. It's called adverse childhood experiences, abbreviated as ACEs, and it can really affect children for a lifetime. Now, baggage, on the other hand, oh my gosh, those are the bumps and the bruises that we all experience from relationships or situations that, oh my gosh, didn't work out the way we expected, right? From day in and day out stress and other difficulties and challenges that continue to take space up here in our minds. And many of these issues remain unresolved and they replay over and over and over again in our mind, and they turn into trauma and they turn into upset, right? And we just keep living with that. And then that becomes like an expectation. Well, what you think about up here is what happens in your life. So think good things. Be positive, be resilient, be flexible, most of all, be forgiving. So these challenges, the trauma, the bumps and bruises, the baggage, right? Those and many, many others are why relationships, family, workplace, friendships, partners, spouses, parents, children, with your pets even, can be challenging if there is no system in place to resolve conflict or again, poor social skills, poor communication skills. So we're going to look at 4 different styles, how you can identify yours, identify styles in your family, and talk about these when you're having difficulty. So you can say, well, gosh, my style to solve this would be this, and I can see that you're way on the other end, right? You solve problems this way. So how do we come together in the middle to solve these problems for parents, right? But until you discover what those styles are, it's hard to do that. And then you want to talk about best interest. So best interest in caregiving is doing what's best for the person who needs care based on what they want and what you know of what they want. So it's not your agenda. It's not what you want to do as the caregiver. It's not what's best for you as the caregiver. It's none of that. It's giving all of that up and doing what's best for a parent. So when you stop focusing on what each sibling wants or what each sibling needs and say, you know what, this is not about me and it's not about you. It's about mom or dad or grandma or grandpa. So we got to set our petty differences aside. We have to set our disagreements aside, and we have to come together to have a sibling agreement on how we're going to manage this. And these are conversations that you really have to have and you have to schedule. And sometimes you have to have an agenda, right? It seems like a lot of work, but the benefit is huge. You'll avoid all these crazy family disagreements and hurt feelings. So 4 styles. As you hear these, be thoughtful about, yeah, that's me, or maybe I'm a combination of these styles. But also then be careful about the pluses and the minuses of the styles, because everything has an alternate side, right? Pros, cons, good, bad, whatever you want to call it. So the first style is called driving, like driving a car, letter D. So people with driving personalities. Decisive, they move at a fast pace, they walk fast, they talk fast, they think fast, they work on timelines and deadlines, they could be super organized, they're focused on actions and results, and all they want to do is get things done, which means that if you are slower, they may just mow right over you. Now, these can be good qualities if you need to get something done, but just the opposite. D people, oh my gosh, super controlling. They might not want to listen to what you have to say because it takes you 10 minutes to get out what they can say in 1. They don't have the time, right? They might not want to listen to you. So if you're the only D in your family, slow down. Listen, don't speak. Ask more questions so that you understand. Be more patient and allow other people to do things in their own way, even if you have a better way to do it, as long as the outcome is the same. What difference does it make, right? This may be hard, but as a D, because you get things done, you can modify your style. Style number 2 is the amiable style. Having an amiable person in your life, in our life, it can be such a blessing, right? They're the people who are agreeable. They're easygoing. They're formal, informal. They just kind of go with the flow, but they show their feelings. Now, they also focus on relationships. They want to bring people together. They want everybody to be happy, which is not always possible, right? And so the downside to amiable people is they want to be liked, and they focus very much on the security of situations. So anything risky or related to change, they may be like, I don't know if I can do that. I don't know if I want to do that. And they also are afraid maybe to try new things, right? Because maybe things haven't worked out once, right? So rather than like striking out on their own or forging a new path or initiating projects, they may be very hesitant and they may wait for other people to initiate things. Now, the other thing about amiable people is that they get walked over, right? They can remain in stressful and unpleasant situations longer than most people would ever be able to do because they don't want to make waves. They don't want to hurt other people. They don't want to be seen as a bad person. They feel guilty, right? Pluses and minuses. Third style, which is beneficial for sibling agreements, is the expressive person. Expressive people are enthusiastic and they can be motivating and inspiring. They're also very chatty. How do you know if you're with an expressive person? You can't get a word in edgewise. They just want you to listen. They don't want you to say anything. They just want you to listen. Now, that can make it hard to work with an expressive person. Now, the other thing about expressive people is that they can change their mind at the drop of a hat. They can be very flighty. They can go overboard on emotions. And sometimes you may not be sure where they stand at any given moment, because today, this is what they think. Tomorrow, they're way over here. And you're like, how did we get from A to Z when, like, I thought we were on the same page and we're not on the same page? Those are the challenges, right? Their behavior may not be consistent. And similar to amiables, they want people to like them. They want some personal approval. They try to please others, which can be bad for them, right? So they can be easily taken advantage of by a D. So as a D, be careful not to take advantage of the good nature of other people, especially if they're in your family. Now, last but not least, the fourth style to support sibling agreements and arrangements is the analyst. We all need analysts. We need people who rely on logic and data and information, and they like to do research, and they're factual. Now, the thing is, though, they prefer logic over emotion. So the amiable and expressive people, you're going to have to come a little bit their way. And if you're the analyst, you're going to have to come a little bit this way, because you may not be on the same page. Also, people who are analysts may be reserved. They might be a little quiet. They may not share information with others unless you ask. If you ask, they'll share. If you don't ask, they're probably not going to tell you. Now, on the other hand, analytical people can appear very cold and detached, which an expressive person is not going to like a cold and detached person. Again, right? So we got to come somewhere in the middle with facts and managing emotions and being logical, right? Because the beauty is all four of these types, we need all of them. You may be a mix between one or two. They have positive aspects for relationships and families and for sibling relationships. And when you combine all these and you talk about them, even maybe make a little bit fun about yourself or laugh about, oh my gosh, I did this again. That's just my personality, right? But then work to change it. So you combine these and they can result in creating amazing sibling agreements. And so what on earth is a sibling agreement, right? Well, in a perfect world, elderly parents talk to their children and they make agreements about like their care, like what they want for their care, right? And they may assign certain children responsibilities based on how they've seen things work out, right? So quick example in my family, I had two siblings, sister and a brother. Very handy. They like to fix things. They like to tinker. They like to build stuff. So of course, when my parents needed something fixed in the house, they didn't call me. They called my sister or my brother, and they would come and fix things, right? I had other things I helped my parents with. My other sister did too, and my other brother did too. So in these family discussions, you have to talk about like what you're good at, because you want to do things that you're good at, right? So things in caregiver agreements. Who's going to be the power of attorney? Is it a medical power of attorney, a financial power of attorney? Who's good with money? Who's good with healthcare? If it's nobody in the family, appoint a professional outside of the family. Is there going to be an agreement that if siblings or brothers and sisters do stuff for parents, you get paid for your time? Or is that just a responsibility? Can you be reimbursed if you buy things for your parents that everybody agrees that they need? How are you going to deal with conflict and disagreements? Where do your parents want to live? Do they want to live in their home, an assisted living community? Do they want to live with one of their children? And are other children going to be jealous about that? Or are other children going to feel like, well, gosh, if mom and dad come live with you, then, they're going to help pay your bills and you're going to get all these benefits. Well, there may be benefits, but there's also a heck of a lot of work there, right? So there's a lot to talk about. Is there going to be an expectation with children who have good income that they're going to pay the parents' bills? How are we going to pay for all this? Are there going to be family meetings? If so, how often? Who attends? Are you going to create lists of pros and cons? Will there be agendas? And probably the single most important thing of all that I cannot emphasize enough, do not talk about other people if they are not present, especially if you are not saying good things. This destroys relationships. It destroys families. And it can be a very easy habit to fall into and a very hard habit to get out of. It's called triangulation. You got three people, 1, 2, 3. They're all talking about people who aren't present. All these other people who aren't present are bad and they're doing bad things. And nothing good comes of it. Bad things come of it. So today, watch your behaviors. If you're talking about other people who are not present and you're saying bad things, stop it. Learn to speak directly to people who upset you or who you do not like. Learn conflict resolution skills. Learn communication skills. Learn social skills. Because if you do all this and you learn to resolve conflict, you're going to be freaking amazing in all your relationships. You're going to be a positive contributor at home, at work, in your marriage, with your parents, with your siblings, and everything's going to run smoothly. Why would we not want that? Why do we want to cause more havoc and crazy and drama in our families? We don't. We shouldn't. No good comes of it. I'm Pamela D Wilson. I'm a caregiving expert, advocate, and speaker. I've been doing this for more than 20 years. Again, please click on the buttons below, like my channel, like these videos, follow my channel so that other people can find more hope, help, and support. Feel free to pose questions to me. You can do that on my website at PamelaDWilson.com by clicking on the Contact Me button. You can also schedule personal consultations there. Have a fabulous day today. I'll see you all again soon in another video.